Imagine being 15 years old and fighting in a real battle with swords, axes, and shields smashing together. No phones. No safety gear. No second chances. And imagine that if one arrow had missed by just a little bit, the history of England and maybe even the world would look completely different today. This is the story of Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why many historians say that when he died, the Viking Age ended with him. Let's travel back almost 1,000 years. It's the year 1030 in Norway. A giant battle is happening at a place called Stiklestad. Warriors are shouting. Metal is clanging. Smoke fills the air. In the middle of all this chaos is a 15-year-old boy named Harald. His older half-brother, King Olaf, is leading the army. But the battle goes badly. King Olaf is killed. The army falls apart. Harald is hurt but manages to escape. In one single day, he loses his brother, his king, and his home. Most 15-year-olds today are thinking about school or sports. Harald had to run across mountains to survive. But here's what makes him different from most people in history: he doesn't give up. Harald travels far to the east to a powerful land called Kievan Rus near where Ukraine and Russia are today. Instead of hiding, he becomes a soldier for hire. Back then, Vikings weren't just pirates. Many were highly trained warriors who worked as mercenaries. Kings would pay them to fight in their wars. Harald grows stronger, smarter, and more experienced. He learns how to lead men. He learns how to win battles. He starts building a reputation. But he wants even bigger adventures. So he travels to one of the richest and most powerful cities in the world at the time, Constantinople. The Vikings called it Miklagard, which means the great city. Imagine a city filled with golden churches, massive stone walls, and markets packed with treasures from around the world. For a young Viking, it must have felt like stepping into another universe. Harald joins the Varangian Guard. This was a special group of Viking warriors who protected the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. They were like the ultimate royal bodyguards, tall, fierce, and loyal. Harald fights in wars across the Mediterranean. He battles in Sicily. He helps stop rebellions in Bulgaria. He travels farther than most Vikings ever dreamed of. And every time he fights, he earns treasure: gold coins, silver, silk clothing, and precious jewels. He isn't just surviving anymore. He's becoming powerful. But success often brings trouble. At some point, Harald falls out of favor in Constantinople. We don't know every detail. Some stories say he argued with powerful leaders. Others say he was accused of keeping too much treasure for himself. Whatever happened, he ends up in prison. Yes, the great Viking warrior is locked behind bars. But Harald doesn't stay there. According to old stories, he makes a daring escape and leaves the city with ships full of wealth. Whether every part of the story is true or not, one thing is certain: he returns north incredibly rich and incredibly experienced. Now he's no longer a teenage runaway. He's a battle-hardened leader. Around the 1040s, Harald sails back to Norway. But there's a problem. There's already a king. Instead of starting a war right away, Harald makes a deal to share power. Eventually, when the other king dies, Harald becomes the sole ruler of Norway. Finally, after years of exile, he wears the crown. But he isn't known for being gentle. His nickname becomes Hardrada, which means hard ruler. If people rebelled, he crushed them. If they refused to pay taxes, he punished them. He believed a strong kingdom needed strict control. He strengthens Norway's government and makes the country more organized. In some ways, he helps shape Norway into a stronger nation. But Harald still wants more. He turns his attention to Denmark. For years, He launches attacks by sea. Viking ships race across the water. Coastal towns are burned. Battles rage. But Denmark doesn't fall. After years of fighting without a clear victory, Harald looks for another opportunity. That opportunity is England. Now here's where history gets intense. The year is 1066. England has a new king named Harald II. But Harald Hardrada claims that years ago, a promise was made that he would get the English throne. Whether that promise was truly fair or not, Harald believes he has a right to rule. So at around 50 years old, an older warrior by medieval standards, he gathers a massive Viking army, around 10,000 men, and sails to England. They land in the north and quickly win a major battle at a place called Fulford. It looks like Harald might actually take over the country. But King Harald II of England responds with something incredible. He marches his army about 185 miles in just a few days. That's like walking from one major city to another almost without stopping. His soldiers are exhausted but determined. They surprise the Vikings at a place called Stamford Bridge. Some of Harald's men aren't even wearing full armor because they weren't expecting an attack that day. Even at 50, Harald doesn't hide behind his soldiers. He charges into battle with a massive two-handed axe. The old stories describe him fighting bravely, cutting down enemies and leading from the front. He fights like the Viking he has always been. But then, in the middle of the chaos, an arrow flies through the air. It strikes Harald in the throat. And in that single moment, the unstoppable warrior falls. Without their leader, the Viking army begins to crumble. The invasion fails. September 25, 1066. Many historians say this date marks the end of the Viking Age. Large Viking invasions never happen again the way they did before. The era of Viking kings trying to conquer huge kingdoms is over. And here's the wild twist. Just 3 weeks later, King Harald II, tired from fighting Harald, has to face another invasion. This time it's William of Normandy. At the Battle of Hastings, Harald II is defeated. William becomes King of England. If Harald Hardrada had won at Stamford Bridge, William might never have ruled. England's culture, language, and history could have turned out very differently. All because of one arrow. Harald Hardrada's life feels like an adventure story, but it's real. He was a teenage survivor, a world-traveling warrior, a royal bodyguard, a treasure collector, a strict king, and finally, a fallen legend. His journey stretched from icy Norway to golden Constantinople and back again. When he died, it wasn't just the end of a man. It was the closing chapter of the Viking Age. If you love stories where one moment changes the future, you'll want to see what happened next in 1066 and how it shaped the world we live in today. And if this story sparked your curiosity about Vikings, stick around because history is full of adventures even crazier than this one.